Welcome back to the Blockfuel Podcast. We have a very special guest today, Metis Foundation founder, Elena Sinelnikova. Really excited to have you on. I know we had met many people that have been very bullish on Metis Foundation. We talked with League.tech at ETH Denver. They had only great things to say about you guys as well. And so finally have you here on our podcast to now talk to you directly, and super excited to learn a lot more. So you have a really fascinating background. You had founded Crypto Chicks prior to working with Metis now. So I'd love to hear a little bit more background on yourself, as well as the journey into creating Metis as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Avi. And thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited. And thank you saying nice words about us. Yes, my name is Elena Sinelnikova, as you said. I started in crypto back in 2016. I heard about, Ethereum, Bitcoin even before that, and I even touched it before that, but I didn't was sold on it up until I start reading more. And that's when I read the first book. I believe it was Mastering Bitcoin. That's my first book that I read. That I truly understood how amazing this technology is, and that's what I wanted to actually do full time. And at that time, I quit my daytime job and started in blockchain space. And my first startup was a nonprofit, educational nonprofit for women. Because when I was starting with my friend Natalia, it was pretty difficult to understand what it is, and I wanted to make it easier for other women to do it, so that's kind of naturally focused on women. And we started doing all these meetups and conferences, and one of Crypto Chicks conference, I met my future co-founder Kevin Liu, who presented me with the idea of Metis. And that idea was to create this open, true borderless platform for businesses to work, collaborate, and partner in a space where they not influenced by any single party, any single government, and that they would have this infrastructure to base on. And that's it's actually called to me very much because that's what blockchain is all about, being open, borderless, democratic, with everyone being, equal, and also have no, no restrictions with the good intentions. So I said yes, and that's how we co-founded together Metis at that time. And that was a Metis layer 2 at first, because we wanted to build an infrastructure first. And after we've done it successfully, we moved on. There was other ecosystem players, we call them econodes, like businesses that joined us, and all is working now under umbrella of Metis Foundation, where I am a decentralization coordinator. We have 6 other decentralization coordinators there. I'm not the only one. We all equal. There are no CEOs. There's no kind of hierarchy in there. So yes, we all are working towards the bigger future for the businesses, for them to provide this opportunity to work in a borderless manner. And we call it Web3 economy. That's how we call it.
Yeah. I guess, Elena, I think on the side of the Crypto Chicks, it totally makes sense. Avi and I have been to conferences and it's 90% male, so that's a problem that's very clear on why there needs to be, better support and resources in the industry. But for you, when you think about what's inspiring to start Metis Foundation and go from a position of having control and power of a company and on the leadership level to, continuously push towards decentralization, what are maybe, if you give us some ideas of what are things you've seen in your life that make you believe, in decentralization so strongly, whether it's growing up, personally and or being within a company that you've seen, hey, we need to really push this out of one person's hands into the hands of many.
Okay, have very, very good recent kind of example of where I think the need is. Everybody knows GitHub.
Yeah.
In fact, that's where this actually our open source code is, all blockchain open source is in there. And recently I learned that GitHub actually decided to block certain countries, certain people, and just not allow, and because they're, getting, in somewhat political, concurring to one point of view, not to another. And now all our, borderless and open infrastructure are kind of like under attack. So that's where I'm getting at, because some people can be just blocked, even though they didn't do really anything. They just happen to live in the wrong spot in the world.
Right.
So that's where I'm coming from, and that's where I think the need is. And I know that before we have such infrastructure that cannot be kind of controlled or banned or prohibited, there's nothing we can do about it. So building this infrastructure is the kind of like cornerstone point of bringing this equality to people in the world. Otherwise, we'll never be like that. It's always will be then, somebody stronger is violating somebody that is weaker, and the sides are changing and the conflicts are going. So in order to stop these conflicts, I think this is what we need. We need this infrastructure that cannot be influenced by, anyone, any single party.
Now, just digging a little bit deeper on that too. Because I've had conversations with folks where it's like, all right, even things that are decentralized aren't fully decentralized in the sense of like, even thinking about like Bitcoin miners, like they could get their power plant, the electric companies could stop providing power to them potentially. So like, is there something within Metis that, takes away the final at the end game? It does come back to centralization in terms of like who is supplying the power, or, even communication, can they pull the plug on you guys at all? How does that all work with you guys?
Yeah, and absolutely, you're absolutely right. And building decentralization is not easy, because it requires, in somewhat, this altruism to let go of power, which is very difficult, especially when you build your business and you get onto this top, and now you have to actually let it go. And that is a difficult part. I see, but in our space, I see people that actually can do it. And actually, like, for example, like one person, let's just take as Vitalik for example, right? So he's the perfect example of such person who, of course, he can influence so much more and do so much more and then hold so much power. Is he using it? No, it's not. He's not. So he's actually giving away that power just for what he believes in. I have very similar beliefs, and I think that's like this space, blockchain space, have a real opportunity to build such power. Who else, if not us? And as you write, all aspects of decentralization is really hard to achieve, but we have to start somewhere. We start from the small, and then we grow, and then we influence more people, and we get more support, and that's how it goes. And I am 100% sure that we will succeed.
Yeah. On the topic of Vitalik, I guess, could you just explain to the audience that isn't familiar with Metis on just how you guys are set up, why you chose Ethereum, and then, maybe just a brief on L2s in themselves. I know there's several, that have been in the market, but you guys are doing things a little differently.
Yes, yeah, of course, we're doing things differently, not to be different, but actually to fulfill our vision of decentralization. Because I think, and of course, my co-founders and all the econos, that's what they also believe in, because we are the kind of like the community of the believers. We chose Ethereum as so first, it is decentralized. So maybe it's not decentralized enough to our taste, how we want it to be right now, but it was the most decentralized at the moment when we were choosing it. Bitcoin is decentralized as well in the same manner, but Ethereum we can build on. So Bitcoin is something that's very limited in terms of the building. So Ethereum, in terms of the decentralization, was great enough space to start from. We of course, we needed to solve many issues such as scalability of Ethereum, which we been doing for a couple of years, and we Of course, I will have our layer 2, Metis layer 2, which we did things a little bit different to give people and businesses opportunity to run transactions on way lower cost and a way higher speed than other layer 2s. So recently, actually, Ethereum Foundation introduced EIP that allowed all other layer 2s actually to catch up to this technology, and which we were like so grateful about. But there are other problems that Ethereum ecosystem needs to conquer, and that is, at current state, all the layer 2s, even though 80% of the transactions, of Ethereum transactions, are on layer 2s. The layer 2s are acting as, and the structure of them as the centralized chains. That's the reality. That is just the stage in the development of layer 2s, because to develop layer 2, you need to go through many stages. So majority of layer 2 on the stage 0 still, with no fraud-proof system developed. So therefore, like how it works when layer 2's bundling transactions and saving them as a bundle on a layer 1. It does it with that computer that calls the sequencer. So the sequencer is processing those transaction bundling and with them up saving to the layer 1. It works for the optimistic rollup. For the ZK rollup, they saving the proofs. So that's the difference. What happens if that kind of like sequencer, I call it even like the heart of the layer 2, when it's down? It's basically the whole layer 2 is down and nobody can withdraw transactions, so the whole business is stopped. So in fact, they acting as a centralized chain. When layer 2 develop further with the fraud-proof systems and everything, so people will be able to withdraw their own transaction even when the layer 2 sequencer is down. Not at that moment, though. So at the current moment, we have a whole bunch of layer 2s, aka centralized chains, are completing 80%, occupying 80% of the transactions on all Ethereum ecosystem. At any point in time, they can just go down. This is not good. This is not decentralized. And therefore, we're making Ethereum even worse than we came from, making it even more centralized at this current state. And at Metis, we decided that it should be at least one layer 2 that have to be completely decentralized in this case, and therefore we introduced decentralized sequencers. So at that stage where not all layer 2s are decentralized, most of them are centralized, we at least will be decentralized in the sequencer, so there is no single point of failure. If one heart goes down, there will be other hearts that are still performing, and people still can work, businesses can work, people can withdraw transactions. So that's the idea of how we're different. Not that we're different because we want to be different, but actually because we want to preserve the same decentralization, the same division that we came with into the ecosystem. And we are making sure that all layer 2s and all people that users of layer 2 also realize this risks, and therefore they know what they're getting into when they are working on the layer 2 networks. So that is the how we started, and also how we progress with our technology.
Can you dive into a little bit more about the community? I know obviously that's very paramount to everything you've done, starting with Crypto Chicks, but talk a little bit more about this community driven governance, obviously as a cornerstone of what you guys are doing. Could you just describe a little bit about how that governance model works, how you're expanding the community? You talked about Vitalik's mom, is I believe working very closely with you guys as well, which is, another, she's beyond a KOL, like an influencer, right? She's, the mother of Vitalik, and expanding so much in the space here. But just dive into a little bit more about, how that governance model works and how important the community is within Metis.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And as per Natalia, of course, Natalia and my long time friend, even before, before Vitalik. So that's we have very great history together, and same beliefs. Of course, we met as kids basically, and
Oh, amazing.
this is how we we share the same core values and same beliefs, and
So
that's what you see manifesting in Metis. Yes.
you met baby Vitalik then, like as you saw him kind of grow up. Then that's pretty cool.
You had a question?
I was just saying
Yeah.
with Vitalik. So you were friends prior to her even having Vitalik, and so you saw him be born basically and grow up, and that's just fascinating
Yes.
too within its own right.
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, and Vitalik, of course, gave us the opportunity to actually fulfill our beliefs in this,
Right. The circle
it
of
kind of
life.
meant to
Very
be, I
cool.
think. Yes, exactly. Yeah, funny how it works. Yes, yeah, and back to decentralization. A part of what Vitalik believes in, of course, he shared probably his parents' beliefs, and therefore we have all the same intention and building the ecosystem the way that we're building it right now. Yes, and you're absolutely right, because we not only decentralize on the infrastructure. Decentralizing on an infrastructure is very important, because once you create an infrastructure like Bitcoin, for example, it cannot be stopped. Right. So then you need to create the infrastructure that cannot be stopped. So therefore, you have to deal with it. If you create something that can be stopped, it's a completely different story. Yes, but on the governance level, so it's also that people and businesses that work on the top of this infrastructure, and their interactions will need to be also organized in a way that it's not chaos. So therefore, the proper governance has to be in place. Yeah, and here we have the opportunities kind of build our own society the way that we want, the way that we imagine. So that is like it's a kind of like amazing opportunity that to fulfill what you really believe in, and you build it and you see it work. So this is something that, of course, I'm very excited about, and we are decentralization coordinators that we work at Metis Foundation. We share the same beliefs, and we're building this governance. So when businesses come onto Metis layer 2 and would like to work and share our core beliefs and work in that partnership, open borderless partnership, they would be able to work together without fear of that their interests are violated in some way. So in this case, yes, we are putting proper governance in place. How does governance look like? So we have the idea of the structure, but actually we cannot think of all the cases. So therefore we proposing certain things like one at a time and see how it works. So now we have our CG forum, which is governance forum where projects can actually apply and community vote for them. So they kind of voted in to be a part of the family, let's say, right? So community accept them or not accept them, but everybody who in this family decide. And that's what we have as the beginning step. Then we going to be building on it. So I can tell you like couple of next steps that we're going to do. So all the businesses that come into Metis ecosystem, they are all equal, and they have all equal rights, and they have all equal voice as well in the ecosystem. But there will be some businesses that are can take more responsibility on realizing the future of the Metis ecosystem, realizing our values, and therefore they have the opportunity to become kind of econodes. So that's the kind of next level of the business where they have more power, more voting power, more decision power, but way more responsibilities as well. And they, of course, it's not going to be for life that you become the second node and now you are there forever. No, and it's not depend on the amount of money you have or amount of success. It's all depend on the core values and whether you still acting in the interest of the whole ecosystem. If this is, your work is actually showing that. So that's the idea of creating this at least 2-level governance, and this is a governance based on the businesses. So businesses will decide of what this ecosystem will look like. And businesses could be, people. Like I can come and create a business of my own, and I can be as this, the single voice, and so as other people. Or I can have a group of people, the employees of my business also enter into my business and be part of the same common. That's how we call the players, the businesses inside the ecosystem. And that's what the governance we are building. In this case, foundation role is to support all them. So all the newcomers, for example, would be receiving grants right away to get started, to get them going, to get them started in the ecosystem. How they use the grants probably also going to be regulated within these the governance rules. But in this case, it's not single person or a single party decides. It's the kind of like conglomerate of these businesses that governing this platform. And again, and I realize that it's not everybody going to be on this platform, but those who would love to, those who want, those who share the same values.
Yeah. And I think for what we've seen with, Christian and Tristan over at Friend Tech on the SocialFi side, it makes sense why a lot of their principles and what they're trying to do by removing, personal data from the big social platforms we have now with like, obviously, Meta or Facebook and like Google into like something where people have more, data sovereignty, self-sovereignty over their ownership. Besides, Friend Tech and SocialFi, like what are some other projects that you're working with or Metis Foundation is working with that you could share just to get people excited about it?
Yeah, so we have like, for example, gaming projects. So we have DeFi Kingdom that came to our ecosystem recently. They developing the whole piece of the game for that resides on Metis that is going to bring the players in. So we're welcoming, of course, DeFi projects and GameFi projects, SocialFi projects, because these are the who consist of the community. Right now, though, we are still in the stage of the infrastructure. So we are, for example, invited EigenLayer, and that they are integrating as well. With the EigenLayer, it will allow us to secure the network, because security of the network is also the cornerstone. Like if network is not secure, of course, there's no point of even coming there. Yes, so EigenLayer will help us to secure even more and secure it with assets, and maybe secure it assets from the different ecosystem, because we're truly building not the like Ethereum maxi and only Ethereum only, but we are welcoming all ecosystem, because I believe that we only can build such decentralized environment if we have that diversity. So yes, and Ethereum should participate, and so as Solana, and so as the Near, and so as other blockchains, that we need to form that kind of like tight ecosystem where we can actually secure each other and therefore make each other stronger. So it's not a competition, it's more like a cooperation between the ecosystems. So that's how I see it. And like, for example, EigenLayer will allow us to do it. We have our EcoNode ZKM, for example, that also is building technology that will allow us to unite the liquidity of all layer 2s and layer 1s. So no matter where you are, you can be able to work on the other chain without withdrawing your own money from one chain. So that's example, that's technologies that already we're developing, and they will go live and will allow us to work with other ecosystems, building that towards our vision again, like towards the decentralized vision.
So like fundamentally, going back to kind of the bureaucracy around all of this, right? Like no one wants to give up power, especially those who are in power. They don't want to give that up. So like, have you had to deal with a lot of like red tape? I don't know if governments have approached you and started to, put flags against you or anything like that. And how do you guys deal with that? Because, it's really fundamental to who you guys are, is not having to rely on these governments or various sovereign nations, right? So how do you guys even approach that? I don't know if you're in communication and collaborating to some capacity, or have to make them aware of what's going on, or is this kind of rogue? I'm always curious how that all works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for us, it's very, very important. So when we build, we're not violating any laws, let's say. So we would not kind of like be on this weak spot where we actually could be, taken down or prosecuted. So yes, so we're making sure that we are doing everything lawfully, and we would love to work with in collaboration with with the different governments. The reality is, though, I mean, because of the political systems, different political beliefs in the world, it probably will not be able to work with all of them all at once in the same time. But in some shape or form, and I hope this collaboration is possible. I mean, nobody reached out to us to collaborate yet, which is good or bad thing, I don't know.
Right.
The reality is, we were not approached, we were not stopped. Nobody kind of like threatened us or done anything to us, which is amazing. But we didn't give any reason to do so. What we will be building, what we are building. And we're at this stage already when we're already introduced decentralized sequencers. So we are decentralized enough not to fear that we can be stopped. So that is out of the way. Everything else is, again, so we proceed one step at a time. If we not finish it in our lifetime, I'm sure we have kids that are even more talented than we are, but share the same beliefs. So this is just part of the process, and this process is exciting as well. But the bottom line is, we would like to make it not a fight, but it is, we are building it so we can actually work all together.
Right.
Yeah, we have so Avi and one of our other advisors, Sean, are both girl dads. What would you say is the best way for, when they show interest, if they show interest in getting into crypto, maybe tech in general, that you advice you would recommend on how to get started, how to find the right mentors, anything on that?
Oh, okay. So they can start, like, for example, they can start from anywhere from on YouTube. If they don't know where to go, of course, they can start from our CryptoChicks Academy. We have CryptoChicksAcademy.com website. They can start from there. It's we kind of collected all the basic courses that allow everybody just keep reading long books and to have the same understanding, like, for example, of what Bitcoin is. I basically put my knowledge that I took from the books into that portal, so everybody can, read this huge book in just one, half an hour or something like that, and understand the same thing. So that is a very good place to start. Anywhere on YouTube, on the web, there is tons and tons of educational materials. They might be not as maybe consolidated, but who wants to learn, and they will find a way. So if you have a desire, all the materials are there. It's all out in the open. Nobody prohibited them yet.
What are you the world, there's always something going on in the world, but I guess the past few years it's felt a bit chaotic, to say the least. What are you most excited about as the world becomes more globalized, and how does Metis really fit into this landscape? How do you attract the most users to start to leverage your technology, and ultimately over the next 6 months, year, anything major that's coming out that you're willing to share on the podcast?
Okay, I missed the first part of the question. Would you please repeat it?
I think it was a bit of a commentary just around the craziness of the world today, right? Like you mentioned, everyone has their own politics, right? In the U.S. and in Russia, Ukraine, all over the world. It seems like chaos, and I really hope there's not like a World War III, but like, you know, it feels like we're in such a, you know, this pivotal part of the world right now, and like meanwhile you're trying to bring people together and democratize this across, you know, the normal everyday citizens and people of, you know, citizens of the world, right? Like how do you see Metis like connecting individuals throughout the world, and you know, is there anything, I know you mentioned a few of the partnerships, but any exciting partnerships or exciting, you know, new campaigns you guys will be running
Yeah,
here in the
it's
future?
well, I mean, I'm not sure how old are you, but you know, I'm old enough to remember the times, you know, back in the 80s, and it was the same thing. So it's not nothing that new that's going on right now. It's old, kind of like the same. We're going in a spiral and in a cycle. So there was always a conflict. There was always a threat of, you know, nuclear war, like since the nuclear bombs were invented, actually. Of course, with the technology now, it's scary here. But I still believe, you know, this is all part of the, you know, kind of like big muscle game of who is stronger. And I don't think it's going to get into the point where we destroy ourselves. I choose to believe in that.
Hope.
Otherwise, what's the point of building anything?
Right.
Yes, exactly. So yes, it is different only in one aspect, that now we all way more connected because of the technology, because of the internet, and because of the social media. We actually know in an instant, in a blink of an eye, what is going on in the different parts of the world. Before that, it was hidden from us by, you know, by the media, by the technology. So there was no technology to make us aware about everything that's going on. And maybe everything that we hear from the social media and the media, we should not believe that, you know.
Right.
Oh yeah, this is like that. No, it might not be as it seems. But at the same time, you know, what is right now big disadvantage, that we see all the bad stuff that is going on, because we have now more ears around the world to see, or more eyes around the world to see in the social media. It is actually our strength as well. So we actually now, as I take example as a Metis. So in Metis, we have different econos in the different parts of the world, and people are working. So even my co-founders, we are in the different countries. So, and we can travel between different parts of the world. You know, I can take my part, they take their part. So therefore, we are very mobile and connected, and also have people in the Metis ecosystem that work in pretty much everywhere. So we can be anywhere, anytime as well. So this is our strength. So we can actually build this technology now more than ever. And with the world literally being the same as in the 80s, now we have that advantage that we can actually build it faster, and we can have more we are smarter, like maybe than before, but because of the technology, because technology makes us smarter, and the AI that's coming to help us as well. So all that is way more possible, and it's also the need to unite the people, because many people, I think, are already annoyed of what they hear, what they see, and they want some, you know, safer place to be, and then maybe some more stability than what they see right now. And yeah, so I believe that it's all happening in the right time.
Yeah, there's a really good quote is saying that the future is built by optimists. So it sounds like you're very optimistic and realistic on.
Absolutely.
Hey, in the 80s, there was problems, and they come in different flavors, but they're very cyclical. And you can't let any negativity
Exactly. And Tanya mentioned in the 80s, I remember I was a child and I was afraid, because we were told, I lived in the Soviet Union, we were told that Americans are just about to launch nuclear strike on us. So, and I was like in a deep belief of that, because of what we were told. And now I see, when I live on the other side of the world now, and I live in Canada, I see the same kind of information coming from the other side, which is probably not true as well. So now I said, like, now I take it with a grain of salt, so I know what's going on. So that kind of thing is kind of, first of all, is bringing me comfort, because I already lived through this, and second thing, I can build my own thing now.
Yeah.
No, it is fascinating, and really appreciate your perspective. I know we kind of focused in on Metis and just hearing, your background and your experiences growing up that probably paved the way for the ideation behind Metis and the vision of where this can go. It's always fascinating to talk with different founders from different areas of the world and kind of what's cool about Web3 and everyone does have this kind of internal optimism and this underdog mentality in a sense. That's what I've noticed and what I've really loved about this space since I've been in it, since 2017. But, what I've noticed, I was in tech before this. And that's how tech felt early on was like, a lot of these startups, people were energized and had this excitement. And that's what I'm noticing, with Web3 and crypto. It's just like, there's so many challenges, and with challenges, there's always like that opportunity and people working together to accomplish this one goal is such a cool, like, feeling. And you step out of the crypto world and you go talk to friends that are not in it. And, it's a complete, they don't know what we're talking about. It sounds like Pokemon cards or something, to a lot of these folks. But what's cool is just having this podcast as one way to kind of educate people on what's happening with these different businesses. And I think that's just the biggest gap is people not jumping in and bringing the smartest minds into the space is just this lack of knowledge. So really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and sharing where Metis is going. And, it's really excited about the future of what you guys are building.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for inviting me here and to be able to tell the story. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Elena.